Saturday edition, orange and blue today. That's right. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew, Mason, and the Broncos game plan. It's our game plan show, Mace. Look forward to this every week because we've talked this matchup to death, but now let's really put a fine edge on this and say, what's the best game plan to beat the Colts? Well, I'll kick things off. Bo Nix, can you play a clean game? The Colts are down both of their starting corners. So no INTs, no fumbles for Bo Nix. I'm not saying it's a mandate, Mace, but I certainly would like it.
Well, I mean, are they down both their starting corners, though?
Yes, they are. Yep, that came out in the injury report today. I think even Adam Schefter had tweeted that out earlier. So
I thought one of them was no longer in the starting lineup. I thought Jalen Jones was a backup now.
Okay. Well,
Jalen Jones is he didn't play any offensive. He didn't play any defensive snaps last week. So, he's missing. Yeah, Jalen Jones is missing the game. I hate to correct you, Cease, but he's got a little less emphasis now in terms of where he is in the game plan. He didn't play any defensive snaps, so they're down. So they're down one starting cornerback, and that is significant, of course, that they're down Shavarius Ward in this game. So that is big, but it's not quite as big as I think it was being put out there in some circles. But being down a corner, it does give some opportunities for Bo Nix in the passing game to attack the Colts. Yes. And certainly being down Jalen Jones does mean you're down a starter, you're down someone, Jones listed as a backup now. It is a depth-shy corner room, so they're one injury away from really being in some deep trouble there in terms of what they can align themselves with at corner.
Yeah, they've got some injuries to watch out for. I think Latu was DNP's questionable. DNP on a Friday, so...
Yeah. That's always a concern.
Yeah, game time decision is what it sounds like. And what was that, a hamstring, I think it was?
Hamstring, yes.
Yeah, hamstring. So, yeah, that's something that could slow down their pass rush. They're without top corner. Okay, Bo, play clean this week. Bo was so un-Bo-like last week with those 3 turnovers, Mace. I just want my Bo back.
Well, something that you like to say is that the feet lead the eyes, and everything starts with the feet, right? So I want to play this clip from Joe Lombardi, Broncos offensive coordinator, on Thursday, basically, talking about his footwork and saying, hey, I do want him moving around, and when a quarterback moves around, there's going to be stuff off platform, and you live with that. I think you and I often talk about, though, hey, there's nothing wrong with off platform when you're moving around. There's nothing wrong with having and being off balance when you're under duress. I think what you and I talk about is when the footwork is a little bit off when he's in the pocket. And I know the throw I look at sometimes is the mistimed play to Lucas Kroll, where Kroll was a bit off on his timing, right. But Bo's kind of flat-footed there as well. It's like there's a lot going wrong there anyway. Yeah. Here's Joe Lombardi talking about footwork and other things with Bo Nix in his press conference on Thursday.
It's mostly just timing and where your feet are at. There were a couple on the move, that, a couple of the interceptions were movement throws. But I think it's just getting your feet set in the right position, which he often, it's it's always a challenge with a quarterback like him because you don't want him to just be a statue in there. When he moves, good things happen, and sometimes he moves and throws with his feet not, perfectly set, and most of the times he's very accurate like that. But I think if he misses, it's usually just, his lower body.
If he misses, it's usually his lower body.
Yeah, says
and
a lot.
you could really see that last week, I thought, when he missed, that it was starting with his feet.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty
it's
obvious.
It's a bad habit yet, Mace, but it's something that we saw in training camp more than last year.
Yeah.
And he's talked about how last year he had to really think about his feet. He had to think about everything. And now he's able to play a little bit freer. That's awesome. But can you think about your feet too?
But here's the thing. What happens if he has to start thinking about his feet again? And then he's not thinking about what he's seeing on the defense. I mean, he talked in May about how the fact that he's not having to think about his footwork and spitting out the play in the huddle means he's able to think about dissecting the opposing defense and reading that pre-snap and then can really attack. Well, if he has to start thinking about his footwork and now the bandwidth is starting to be consumed with that, does that mean he becomes less effective at reading a defense? I mean, now, unfortunately, if he's got to go back to that level in footwork, then what does it mean for other areas of his game? So that is something that I'm not, we're not doing progress reports here. Sean Payton hates progress reports. And look, Bo's the guy, despite what some of your texters tell you on your show, on your radio show. I mean,
yeah, this nothing about Jarrett Stidham. This is
right.
all about Bo. Let's get like 8 games in and see where the kid's at. But
it's Joe Lombardi basically saying it there, like it's something that's gotta be cleaned up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in this contest, no turnovers, perhaps a tougher contest. We're going to get to the defense and how they deal with everything Indianapolis can. But for me, it's helping Bo with, Sean calling a better game. I think Sean could have called a better game last week. And then that includes run plays early, man. So the first 20 plays, 4 plays, run plays, and 16 pass.
Yeah.
We're not going to get 10 and 10. It's Sean Payton, but my goodness, 16 and 4 in the first 20.
But what if they stack the box on you?
What happens when you get past that stack? It's house call.
Well, that's where if they do stack it, that's where your pass does need to be affected. And if they rush you, okay, that's you've got to actually execute it. Okay, they bring the rush. I mean, think about the screen to Bidet. Okay.
Which Jaleel could have scored on, by the way.
And this is where I bristle at the whole thing of, it's past the game by, Sean can't call a game.
Oh, no.
That's the perfect play call for that.
Yes.
It's the perfect call. It's a great design. It's well executed, except for one thing. It was dropped.
Ugh.
Other than that, everything about that was right. I mean...
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. I mean, what can you do there? I mean, sometimes, you've got good calls, good design, and it's not executed. I mean, that does happen sometimes.
Yes.
So, I mean, I sort of, when I see some of the design out there, I find it, I do find it curious that people are saying that it's past him by when I think
they're just grasping for straws.
Yeah, I see an offense that's very much very much in step with 2025, if not even a half step ahead.
And Sean Payton is also very open to feedback, and he's open to trying different things. Like, he has his way, but he also is and listen, he's very, strict and egotistical or whatever, but he also is like, hey, well, does this work? What is this? He looks at different places. He takes input. It's not just his way or the highway.
And the fact that they're putting in wide zone into this offense here, I mean, doesn't that tell you right there about the willingness to incorporate new things, different ideas that haven't been widely integrated into this offense over the years? I mean, the ability to change, the ability to adapt, the willingness to do those things. I mean, so I think things are going to get figured out. And on top of everything else, you do have a quarterback who does a good job not only moving on from week to week, but as Mike McGlinchey says, even play to play.
Well, it's not just bouncing back from game to game. It's every day. Like, he's so mentally tough, right? Like, his ability to forget bad plays, his ability to just keep playing, his ability to just keep competing is why you love him. He's unshakable in that way. which is something very rare for a guy that's in year 2 to have, especially at the quarterback position. He's a fiery competitor. He wants it so bad, and he doesn't let what doesn't concern the next play affect him. And that's incredibly valuable for all positions, but it's certainly the one making the decisions back there.
So
I love that unshakable answer. It's almost like an Etch-a-Sketch. He's
yeah,
going to draw a picture, then he's going to shake it up, and there's nothing left of the previous picture, good or bad. He's just going to stay steady.
yeah. The short memory that you have to have, right? You just okay, good or bad, just shake it off and do it again. I mean, you're not gonna. You don't want to get too. You don't want to get too high, smelling your own farts, and you don't want to get too low, wallowing in your failures, right?
Right. Right.
Either way, you want to attack it the same way, good or bad, and that's gonna help you out. That sort of mentality more often than not.
Is there anything, and please help me with his name, the defensive coordinator for the Colts,
Lou Anarumo,
what formerly of the Bengals? Traditionally, he likes to drop 7 or 8. So I know we're talking about stacked boxes against this ground game, and I think JK. I love the 16 carries for JK. I want 20, but Sean's never going to do 20. I believe Alvin Kamara had 20 carries like once with Sean Payton. It's very, very limited. So 16 for JK. I would like, 10, 12, something like that for RJ as well. And if the Colts are dropping 8, dropping 7, that's just inviting you, almost daring you to run the ball. And the Broncos, as we saw at the end of the Titans game, man, this team can run the ball.
Yeah, and the other thing also, I mean, you want to get the run game going because when Bo does drop back to pass, you're probably going to you got to diagnose whatever coverage they're throwing at you because, and this is even though they're going to be down one starting corner, he's going to throw a lot of different coverages at you. That's the thing. And last year with Cincinnati, tried doing the same thing, didn't really have the personnel to do it. I'd say he was unfairly scapegoated in Cincinnati. It was, trying to do what he could with the personnel that he had. I think he's got much better at his disposal.
And wasn't Logan Wilson hurt last year?
Yeah.
Like for a lot of the year. So you're missing a top linebacker there.
Yeah. But this is, he's with more up front at his disposal as well. I think he's able to take advantage of that. He can get, the thing is he likes to have some creative blitzes, but at the same time, with the front that he has in Indianapolis, he doesn't necessarily need to blitz as much with what he has at his disposal. So now it then becomes incumbent upon the Broncos offensive line to do well. We saw it in the fourth quarter, put it together. They need to be better first 3 quarters in this game than they were against the Titans.
Right. I know I made a big deal out of it, Mace, so maybe it's just me, but I wanted to run it by you. When I asked Joe Lombardi about the first 15, is there anything there for you? Like, because we remember obviously the Shanahan days, and come hell or high water, come hell or high water, those 15 plays are getting right. And Joe Lombardi essentially said yesterday, we got a group of 12 as a staff. They come together. There's about 12 plays. What do you like? What do you like? Whatever. And then Sean will mostly stick to those first 12 plays, but he'll change some stuff up. So the first 15 conversation, is that interesting to you at all or no?
Well, I think it's never a rigid, for most coaches, it's not rigid because you have to adapt to down and distance and situation and all that.
Sure.
So, I mean, like if you have a 3rd and 18,
you're not running the dive play.
Right, exactly. You're going away from that. So that's why I think it's better to call it an opener than a script. A lot of people would call it a script.
And Lombardi said opener.
Opener is the more accurate term. And that's the term that has become over the last several years the more favored phrasing of it. And I'd say what he says makes sense. I think what he's saying is it sort of offers a latitude for the coach to kind of step in and say, well, I've got this specific play in mind that maybe I wanted to use at some point later in the game for a specific situation. Like, say, example, remember in Baltimore last year, he had a 2-point call, but it was a situation where he wanted to use it on a 4th down, and it was the pass to Bo Nix for the touchdown, right? That's an example of a play that, okay, the scenario allowed him to use it there, even though it wasn't designed for that moment. So you've got a down and distance, and it's perfect for a play that isn't in the opener, but okay, I think it'll work right here. It's the ideal spot. Okay, it may not be in the opener, but I'm going to use it here. So you should always have that sort of flexibility and creativity to bring that in. I think that you shouldn't be so rigid with the opener as to not have that sort of variance within it.
I like it. And that's what Sean Payton does now.
Yeah. It's sort of the evolution of the opener. I mean, it was, when it first came into being, it was not, I mean, obviously you had down and distance. Very, like you said, you wouldn't run the dive on 3rd and 18, but it was very much, we are trying as much as possible. We're trying to stick with what is in this opener. Now, I think this is a little wiser in terms of having a little bit more of a spectrum that you can work with.
What's the Bill Parcells quote that Sean Payton always says, like, call the game in front of you? I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it basically means what you're saying. Like, you've got a plan, okay, but as the game unfolds, you have to call the game that's in front of you. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but we've heard Payton talk about that. We need to see it against this Colts team, and the offense, as we saw in training camp, with everything they're implementing now, with Bo Nix more on the plate, this thing's still going to take time. And I don't think it's automatically fixed after the Titans game. I think this could be one of those games where, maybe things are a little bit closer than you want. Plus, with Indy, as you mentioned, hey, they took care of a bad team.
Yeah.
That's what good teams do. So now, even though it's Miami, we can say, especially with Jonathan Taylor and Tyler Warren, but we can say the Colts are a good team.
The Colts have, for the last 2 years, the Colts have been a team with a good roster and a quarterback question.
Yep.
Chris Ballard, it's the conundrum of Chris Ballard is if they fire him after this season, they would fire a general manager who knows how to put together a pretty good roster except for the most important position.
Mm-hmm.
So
wasn't Ballard there with luck and he didn't put anything around him?
No, that was Ryan Grigson.
Ryan Grigson. Very good. Very good.
Yes. That's what got Grigson fired.
And then Ballard comes in and he does build things right.
Because Grigson helped get Andrew Luck killed, basically, and that's why you're seeing Andrew Luck watch Stanford as their general manager, try to get them going, and watch another ex-Colt, at least ex-Colt coach, Frank Reich, completely mismanage games. Man. So yeah, the bottom line on the Colts is that 2 years ago, this was a team that with Gardner Minshew was in a win and end game at home in week 18 and lost. And that last year had the game that we have talked about over and over in Denver. And Zach Allen has pointed out that the momentum turned on that play where he dropped the ball. And it's, again, like unlike other plays, unlike the block field goal in Kansas City, it wasn't a football play. It didn't involve two teams. It didn't involve man versus man, team versus team. It was something that happened to the Broncos independent of anything they did. It was just good fortune. And the way that they viewed this in Indianapolis for the last 9 months is that they gave it to the Broncos. That's how they viewed this. And that was a team that even with that, they came that close to the playoffs with Anthony Richardson playing much of the year, and Anthony Richardson's on the bench. So now Daniel Jones, for all his flaws, and we'll get into him on the other side of the break, Daniel Jones is a quarterback who in the last year he played a full season, 2022, was taking his team to the playoffs and leading the Giants to a playoff win. So they view themselves as a team that can be a playoff team. We'll see. Yep. We'll I think we'll know. We're going to know a lot more about both of these teams, Cease, by about 5:30 Mountain Time on Sunday.
Yep.
This is, even though early season results can deceive, this is a real interesting game as far as finding out where two teams that are maybe a little closer to each other than a lot of people might think. It's really interesting to find out where these teams are.
Yeah, and at the end of the year, they might be competing for one wild card spot.
Which is why this game is in Indianapolis and not in Berlin, as most people thought it was going to be for a while, as every indication was that it was going to be. I had had a couple of people off to the side tell me, look, this game's probably going to be in Berlin back at the Combine. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it was not like something I could report. It was just like, oh, you should know this. Travel plans is probably going to be in Berlin. I'm like, okay. Well, the way this goes is teams can tell the NFL, we don't want this game moved. It's been this way for years. Like the Jacksonville Jaguars, for example, they'll tell the NFL, oh, you're not going to move our home game with the Cowboys or the Packers, because those are games that back when they were really having trouble selling tickets, Cowboys fans will pack the place. Packers fans will pack the place. So they didn't want to lose those games, period. Or it's like, oh, you're not taking our game with the Patriots because we want our fans to see Tom Brady, right? Take our game. Right. Take our game with all due respect, take our game with the Jets, right? Like somebody else. So the Colts looked at this game and said, this matchup was the difference between us being a playoff team and not being a playoff team last year. We think this game is one of the most important on our schedule. We would rather not have this game shipped off to a neutral site. We want it at home. And that's why instead of the Broncos going to Berlin, they're going to London. And with the Jets Bronco game, the Jets are hosting the Broncos next year, and they hosted the Broncos in 2024. So it's like, 3 straight years against the Broncos. You know what? If we have to give up a game, we'll give up that one. So
right.
That's how this thing ended up working.
Interesting to see how it comes together. How does it come together for the Broncos defense? Let's talk about that after a word from our sponsor.
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
The league does have a right to kind of push back and say, no, we really want this game sometimes, but usually they'll be good partners and say, all right, we'll give you that one. So that's why with the Colts, like, okay, you don't want, fine, we'll take, another one, right? That's so,
right.
But that's why That's a big part of why the Broncos are going to Indianapolis instead of this game. This game was probably going to be in Berlin in November, and instead it's in Indianapolis in September because they want a true home field advantage, and I can't blame them. You could say, hey, this game was. You look back on it for the Broncos, you could argue this game was the most important matchup of last year in terms of them being in the playoffs. It was probably the most impactful as it turned out in terms of them being a wild card team.
Yep, a big game for the Denver Broncos and a big challenge with Jonathan Taylor, who just made it look so easy. It's priority number one. We'll get to Tyler Warren in a little bit, Mace, but for me, if you let Jonathan Taylor go nuts, which means DJ Giddens would probably help go a little bit tiny nuts. But like you've got Taylor as a superstar back. Giddens looks like a real solid reserve. And then setting up Daniel Jones. That's what they want to do. And Jonathan Taylor, if it wasn't for Saquon Barkley, we'd be having conversations about Jonathan Taylor being the best back in the league.
Yeah. And he's perfect for them. And really, he's been a reason why this Colts team, despite their quarterback deficiencies, has been able to be competitive the last few years. I mean,
preach.
Yeah. If you put Taylor on, I say this, if the Chiefs had taken Taylor instead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire back in 2020, and there are digital receipts out there about me saying they should have taken Taylor in 2020.
Whew. Yeah, it looks like we must have froze up a little bit there on
that was
one
the
of our
pick
ends.
From. Oh,
sorry, we froze
anyway,
up there. For
fortunately, Well, fortunately for the Broncos, the Chiefs took the more gadgety back instead of the guy in Jonathan Taylor, who's sturdy and, like you said, I think legitimately the second best back in the league over the last few years, or right there, or the top three. To me, the big three are Taylor, Henry, Saquon Barkley. Maybe not in that order, but those are your top three. That's why he's getting paid, and
that's why the Colts are a threat.
Yeah,
that's Jonathan Taylor.
He gives them a chance every game because he can dictate the pace of any game they play. And when he's on and when he's in a flow, they give you problems. And last year, when the Broncos defense hit that point, you and I have talked about this, when Riley Moss went down, that was the thing that kind of pushed the Broncos over the edge, and that was a defense that was in December 32nd in total D. So now it's a Broncos D at full strength facing Jonathan Taylor. You don't have now nearly full strength. You don't have Dre Greenlaw, but you do have Alex Singleton back. And we saw how good Justin Sternad looked with Alex Singleton next to him and with Talanoa Hufanga behind him at the next level.
Right.
There's every reason to believe that Taylor won't have the room to roam that he had last December.
Yep, that's where the Broncos need to come through, then deal with Daniel Jones, and then deal with Tyler Warren. Mentioned it on Friday's show. You seem to enjoy the conversation, Mace, about Pat Surtain perhaps being on Warren, and it's something that's the way I put it before the draft. People remember Colson Loveland was the best tight end in this class. Tyler Warren was the best whatever you want in this class.
Tyler Warren, would you say better blocker too than Loveland?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more physical.
Yep.
So he can. That's the thing. He can go in line, but he's got some versatility. I mean, he's a guy can go in the backfield as well. A very unique weapon. High football character as well. I'll admit, as much as people loved Loveland, he was still my tight end one. So, an easy player to fall in love with.
Oh, yeah.
And with the right play caller, with the right play designer, maybe can be a unicorn type of weapon. But you got to have some creativity, and you've got to be willing to move the other pieces around. But it's an interesting offense, Cease, because the Colts' weapons, you think it's Warren, Pittman, Taylor. So they've got guys that you're concerned about, but what do they all have in common? Their power, right? Size. Pittman's 223, Taylor's 226, right? And then Warren is this big load going down the seam. I mean, these are guys, they're not going to, Taylor's got speed when he gets into the open field, and all you have to do is recall back to that run that he bungled at the end of it. He was crossing the goal line, but you know what kind of speed he's got when he gets in the open field. But these are all guys, these are big, powerful people these guys, that's the distinctive, that is the distinctive trait of the Colts, is that these are power guys that they've got as their top skill guys. It's a really unique offense. I'm not sure there's another team that has like a big three that are powerful. Like the Eagles, right. The Eagles have, the Eagles are close, but in terms of big three with power, they have it, but they could use a little more speed though, which is where I think the Broncos do have an advantage going at them from what their defense possesses.
Yeah, and we'll see how Alec Pierce and Josh Downs do, because if we talk about auxiliary targets, let's say Surtain takes care of Tyler Warren or Michael Pittman, then you go, okay, well, who else are you going to be involving here? DJ Giddens as a reserve runner, but then Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, both speedy guys, so a little bit of speed, but then I have confidence that Riley Moss will handle and Jaquan McMillan will handle his responsibility. Yeah. Plus, as you mentioned, Huff back there. Huff. Yeah. I mean, you bring that power, Mace. You bring that strength, that triplets, like you mentioned. I'm going to give you Huff.
And the thing is also with Alec Pierce, they just don't involve him that much.
Exactly.
That's the thing. Alec Pierce is a guy who, over the course of his career, he's basically 2 catches a game.
Yeah.
Now, last year, it was 22 yards a catch. Last week, he had 36 yards on his 1 catch. But still, like, you're concerned about Pierce, but now, and some of this is with the quarterback, the quality of quarterback that they have, but they don't use what they have, and that's why you don't note their speed as much, because it doesn't get as involved. That's why it's an offense that you think power first rather than speed, because they just don't use the speed in the way that they could as well, because Pierce is kind of an accessory to what they're trying to do. He's not kind of a primary guy.
Right. And I'll take it. Like, if we just look at who's going to hurt you, if you can contain Taylor, and I'll just say less than 100. I know Taylor had 70 last week, but I will take under 100 for Taylor if you contain him. Yeah, Josh Downs gets you 1 time. Alec Pierce gets you 1 time. Like, yeah, that's fine. It's kind of a give and take. As long as Warren is held in check and Taylor is held in check, maybe one of these other guys pops off for something big here or there, but as long as those 2 guys are kept in check, which the Broncos defense can, I feel good about the outcome.
For all that went right for the Colts last week, one of the things that probably wasn't what they wanted was Taylor had his lowest rushing output in his last 6 games. He actually came into the game with 4 straight 100-yard games, but had only 71 yards and did not average 4 yards a carry. So they're going to want to try to get him going a little bit more. But of course, getting him going against this Broncos front 7, that's going to be a tough challenge. Now, I do think maybe one thing they do try to accomplish is maybe testing Nick Benito's side a little bit more than Jonathan Cooper's side when they run Taylor wide. So that's something to keep your eye on as well. Nick Bonito much improved at setting the edge, but still, if they're going to try to get one side going, that's, I think, the flank that they're going to try to attempt to push and test on the Broncos defense.
And Mace, I will hat tip to you as we are wrapping up today's show because you got me talking special teams. And I think Darren Rizzi, when Coach Rizzi and I asked him about the Marvin Mims thing, he's like, he's fine. You don't need to say anything to Marvin because Marvin's biggest critic is himself. He will be fine, ladies and gentlemen.
He's hard on himself as Marvin Mims Jr. That's
why he's great.
Yeah, he is. He's a perfectionist, and there is nothing you could say to Marvin Mims Jr. that would be harder than what he would say to himself or think to himself.
Right.
And sometimes it means like he can get a little bit too down on himself if there's a bad moment, but he's a perfectionist, and that's also why he's an all-pro. But that's you don't have to worry about him figuring it out. He's going to be fine. Like that. Honestly, like when he had the muff last week, that was actually the first moment, Cease, where I thought they might lose this game, because it was like, if that's not working, whoa, because you got all the other things that were going askew. Okay, the O-line had some struggle moments in preseason and training camp, and this is a good Titans front. They got Jeffrey Simmons, blah blah blah, and Bo Nix has been inconsistent, and he's still a young quarterback, and the footwork had not been there. Marvin Mims is, if he's not the most reliable component on the team, Marvin Mims is a returner. He's in the top 2 or 3. It's like if Pat Surtain got beat for a touchdown.
Right.
There are certain things that, like, certain aspects of the engine you don't expect to blow up. Mims on a punt return is one of them. And so the reaction in the press box, like, whoa, if that's going wrong, they might actually lose this game.
Right.
So fortunately for the Broncos, they didn't, but you don't expect something bad to happen to Marvin on punt returns because he's just that good. And that's testament to how well he's developed over the last couple of years, that you see him out there and you just think something good's going to happen here. And he's reliable. He's just Mr. Reliable. So he'll get back on track. I expect something good, something big time good's going to happen for him in the next couple of weeks out there, because it's just how he is. He's dynamic.
It's like playing Broncos bingo. If that comes up on your card, you ain't getting it.
Yeah.
You're not getting that one.
So, yeah. Like if there are some things, like if they go wrong, like if Pat Surtain has a bad day, you're like, okay, maybe this just isn't their day. Mm-hmm. Marvin Mims bumps a punt. That's the moment where you start thinking maybe it's just not their day.
Did you put Will Lutz in that category? If you talk top 3 consistent guys?
Yes. And you think back, and thus you look back at that game against the Raiders 2 years ago in week 1, they lost, and he missed a PAT and he missed a field goal. And you're like, yeah, that's probably the sign that they were going to lose that game, is that Will, in retrospect, that Will missed a couple of kicks, because Will has become Mr. Dependable out there. And if he misses, it's like, whoa, okay. Like you just expect him to go out there. Will is like, well, it's like I say about how coaches view kickers and punters, and it's why Will has lasted so long for Sean Payton. He's, other than the year he was injured, he's been the only kicker that he's had since 2016, after Payton went through one kicker a year on average until that point, because he's the most dependable kicker he's had. And coaches like to view kickers and punters as just like turning on the light in the room. You just expect it to be there. You only notice it when the light bulb doesn't turn on. Like, whoa, what happened? Right?
Right.
That's not right. So.
I tell you what's right. Orange and blue today. 7 days a week during the regular season. The warm and fuzzies.
Yes.
King of the castle. I don't know why I say that. Anyway, Mace, we love our audience here on YouTube and elsewhere. But if you're on YouTube and you're watching us now, how can folks help us out here?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never
miss
vid.
That's right. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty?